to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Thursday, May 16th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yejin, and you're watching News Generation. Today we have Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you, and Im Sang-yeop.
Thanks for having me.
Happy Thursday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So as always, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online over the past 24 hours. We start on the cultural front. The annual Cannes Film Festival kicked off in France on Tuesday. While no Korean films were invited to the main competition category this year, 3 Korean films will be screened. Director Ryu Seung-wan's crime action movie, I, the Executioner, a sequel to the 2015 hit Veteran, has been selected for the midnight screening section. Kim Liang's documentary, Walking in the Movie, which follows the life of Kim Dong-ho, co-founder of the Busan International Film Festival, will be shown today in the Cannes Classic section. Im Yuri's Forest of Echoes will be featured in the Lost in F section, showcasing works by film school students. Moving on, back here in Korea, HYBE has become the first entertainment company to be recognized as a conglomerate by the country's antitrust regulator. On Wednesday, the Fair Trade Commission added the K-pop giant to its list of conglomerates alongside 5 other firms. The commission reported that HYBE's total assets reached 5.25 trillion Korean won, or approximately $3.8 billion, surpassing the minimum threshold of 5 trillion won for this designation. And finally, moving on, scientists say that the summer of 2023 in the Northern Hemisphere was the hottest in 2,000 years. A new study published in the journal Nature on Tuesday revealed that the average temperature from June to August last year was 2.2 degrees Celsius higher than it was between the years 180 and 1890, and 2.07 degrees Celsius higher than the average summer temperature between 1850 and 1900 before human-caused climate change. Now, these findings are based on meteorological records dating back to the mid-19th century and temperature data from, interestingly, analyzing tree rings at 9 sites across the northern hemisphere. So the hottest summer in 2,000 years, that's quite a big finding. So what are your thoughts on this study, Sang-yeop?
Well, it's no surprise that the Earth is heating up every year.
Right.
Because we have always been hearing about
the hottest year again.
Right, the natural disaster and environmental
right.
crisis as always. And the world leaders are always putting their hats together to curb the climate crisis. However, despite the past year's efforts, we are actually not seeing any signs of hopeful recovery. And here in Korea, the government has also implemented various environmental policies, such as using paper straws in cafes, and also limiting the temperature of air conditioner during summer. However, the frequency of natural disaster in Korea is also going up every year. And now I think, to my personal point of view, we need the contributions from China and the US, because those two countries are the 2 biggest emitters of carbon. And it's always said that it's always those 2 countries and other advanced nations that emit the biggest amount of carbon, whereas the third world countries and the developing countries are the ones that receive the biggest blow.
Right, so we definitely need an international team effort to at least alleviate climate change or a climate crisis that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's like a group project. So
which is really hard, by the way.
It's really difficult.
But we really need it. Right, so what are your thoughts on this study, Walter?
It seems that every year is the hottest year on record.
Yeah, I know. We hear that every time, every year.
2023.
Right.
Hopefully this year is a lot cooler. I know, just to add on quickly, but what the Korean government is doing is that they are making Seoul a more cleaner place by hopefully what they're doing right now is designating areas where only hybrid cars and electric cars can go. I'm obviously not looking forward to this this summer, as I hate the Korean summer.
Yeah,
it's
scorching.
Very humid,
definitely.
very sticky. I'm not a fan of that at all. But yes, on a bigger scale, this is clear that the world is changing in a bad way, and I feel like it's a little too late to do anything about it, because we keep talking about it, but there doesn't seem to be change, like Sang-yeop said.
Right, but at least we can try to make things better. So hope that the summer of 2024 is not the hottest on record. And that was our news feed for this Thursday. Now, moving on to our main discussion topic of the day, a quick question for our viewers. Do you know what day it was yesterday here in Korea? Well, yesterday, Wednesday, May 15th, marked Teachers' Day in Korea, a day dedicated to expressing gratitude and respect for our teachers. So to find out more about our discussion topic for today, take a listen and take a look at the screen. The teacher's love is as vast as the mountains and as deep as the ocean. This line is from the song Teacher's Grace that's frequently sung by students in Korea to honor their teachers on Teacher's Day. There's an old saying in Korea that goes, treat your teacher like your parent, which underscores the deep-rooted respect in Korean culture for educators. However, lately, it seems that this respect may not be as widespread among students as it once was. Right, so a lot of countries around the world celebrate Teacher's Day, but Korea is actually the only country that celebrates May 15th as Teacher's Day. So for those who may not be familiar or know the reason why May 15th is Teacher's Day in Korea, Walter, please tell us and walk us through this.
Okay, so yeah, according to sources, the reason why Teacher's Day is on the special day of May 15th is that it's the birthday of one of Korea's most, famous teachers in the history of Korea, Kim Sejong. So it is a day where students celebrate and appreciate their teachers' work. I used to be a teacher in several different academies and in hagwons and institutions, and I remember getting some of the cutest letters from some of my students.
Yeah,
when I say
so
cutest
lovely.
letters, I mean from like young students, not older students. But now the tables are turned, and now being a parent, I have to give all the gifts to my daughter's teachers, which for some reason she has a lot of teachers. That means a lot of money for me to spend. But yes, at the end of the day, we are appreciating their teachers' work and what they've done for us.
Right. So as Walter mentioned, the reason why May 15th has been dedicated as Teacher's Day in Korea is because that's the birthday of Kim Sejong, who is called like one of the greatest teachers of Korea because he invented the Korean characters. Now, Sang-hyuk, I want to ask you, do you have any fond or good memories of Teacher's Day because it's such like a celebratory big day here in Korea?
Right, so when I was attending middle and high school, we used to give carnations, which is a typical flower that you give to the teachers on the Teacher's Day.
Yeah, to express your gratitude, right?
As well as small gifts to show our thanks to the teachers. But since the enforcement of Kim Young-lan Act, which is also known as the Anti-Graft Act in 2016, students are not allowed to give gifts that cost more than 50,000 Korean won, which is about $30 US. Now, I work as a part-time lecturer in college, and because of this law, I must not receive expensive gifts from my students. Instead, they gave me a handwritten letter, which I liked better than the materialistic gifts because I can feel their sincere hearts even more.
Right, because it's actually the sincerity and the real gratitude that really matters when we celebrate Teacher's Day.
Right.
I also relate to this because when I was a student, we celebrated Teacher's Day really big. We used to like sing songs to our teachers and just express our respect and gratitude to them. But I think that things have quite changed here in Korea, especially over the past few years because we've been seeing a lot of issues arising regarding teachers' rights. For example, last year we saw that tragic accident where an elementary school student, teacher in her 20s, took away her life after she reportedly expressed anxiety over malicious complaints from parents. Now, as our generation is in the same generation as that teacher who took away her life, I think that we would especially relate to this even more. So, Walter, could you please tell us more about how millennials and Gen Zs are viewing teaching as a profession these days, if they were influenced?
Okay, so I have to agree with you there that things are changing in Eugene, and to me, it's insane the level that some parents go to abuse teachers. As a parent myself, though I want the best for my child, I wouldn't go so far as to abuse or bully my daughter's teacher to get what I wanted, even if it did benefit her. I really think that parents who do such things should face jail time, and it saddens me that it is my generation that is causing a lot of these incidents. So those people should be ashamed of who they are. Listen, we all grew up with horrible teachers, some good teachers as well. So I know that sometimes the teachers are to blame, but as parents, we should never look for an eye for an eye. Now, talking about how we see the job now, despite the persistent authority issues, low wages, and troublesome complaints, over the half of MZ generation teachers say that they would like to change their jobs. So if we take a look at the screen, I can just show you from generation to generation why they were wanting to change jobs. Currently, there is a very big difference between the Generation X and Generation Z, with a lot wanting to change their jobs or willing to change their jobs in the future. So, this is once upon a time, being a teacher was considered a stable job, a working
Right.
environment, good vacations, respected profession at that time. It was one of the most desired careers. However, recently its popularity has waned, and even the popularity of education colleges has diminished as well.
Right, I can definitely feel that too. Now, Sang-hyuk, why do you think are some of the reasons why teaching has become like less preferred job among millennials, Gen Zs, and students here in Korea?
Yes, definitely. So teacher is no longer a dream job for the youth here in Korea. So extending to Walter's answers, according to the recent survey, that 20% of the Korean teachers replied when they're born again, they will become a teacher. Now, this means that the other 80% wants to become a different job in the
Which
future.
is a really big number.
Yeah, it is. So this thing has to do with the lack of protective measures for the teachers here in Korea. The Korean policies are still too weak to protect the teachers when they face difficulties. In Korea, the teachers have to address all the complaints from the
Right.
parents, but in other countries like the US, if parents want to file a complaint, they must first undergo a review from the school principal and the school officials. And when the complaint is deemed valid, then they can see the homeroom teacher. However, there have been cases in Korea where parents call the teachers directly for unnecessary inquiries, sometimes even late at night. And this has put a big amount of stress to the school teachers, leading many of them to quit their jobs.
Right. I think you mentioned a very good point there about teachers having to dealing with complaints because these complaints have become so malicious and intense that some people even say teaching has sort of become more like a consumer service than educating the future generation these days. Now, Walter, do you have any thoughts or things that you would like to add on to our discussion?
Yeah, so obviously what Sang-hyuk said is very, very accurate. I think that there's a big difference between teachers' rights, students' rights, and also parents' rights these days, and we cannot find a level ground. Now, given the current situation it is in, I don't blame people for not wanting to be a teacher as a career anymore. And I think this will have a ripple effect where, as in the past, we had people who wanted to be teachers, people who wanted to change the lives of our children. But if we are decreasing in the number of teachers, I just think the chances of letting anyone to be a teacher will increase. And that means some bad eggs, some bad
really
teachers.
dangerous.
So, for me, I stopped teaching for one reason. That was I had no passion for teaching, and that means I was doing the student and myself no good. Now, if we have teachers with no passion and no desire to really want to teach, what hopes do we have for the future for our young children?
Right, because the biggest roles of teaching or choosing teaching as a profession is actually raising the future generation, right?
Exactly.
Now, Sang-hyuk, I think that what we're seeing right now, all these issues regarding teachers' rights and a lot of teachers saying that they're being disrespected when compared to the past, it's quite a different picture when you and me went to school, right?
Yeah, right. So things were definitely different when I was attending school back in the days. So I attended boys' high school, which you can assume that teachers were really scary.
Yeah, I heard a lot of us stories.
So, there was a time I got beaten up by my teacher.
Really?
Because, yeah, I scored less than the class average in the exam. So teachers were really strict and frightening. But after the awareness on students' rights has gone up since 2010, corporal punishment was banned from the classrooms. Now, to me, I think this change has somewhat contributed to the spoiling of some students and children. And since then, parents justify their malicious complaints, saying it is a protection and love for their children. To me, it seems like just an overreaction. So our generation experienced all this malicious actions and corporal punishment when we were young, and now we became parents and we are overprotecting our child. But to me, it's this kind of education is no good for our children's growth. So in the end, overly excessive protection on the students as well as weak regulation to protect the teachers have all contributed to the fall of teachers' rights in Korea.
Right. I think especially these days, the balancing of teachers' rights and students' rights are especially important because I think that the situation has kind of flipped upside down. Before, we were talking about teachers somewhat having too much authority or power in the classroom, but now it seems like a lot of teachers are being disrespected, with some rights not being even respected at all. So now this was a situation in Korea, but we also asked our viewers how teachers or teaching as a profession is perceived in their country. And here's what 3 of them had to say. So if we look at the comments, Rex Alex says, sadly, teachers are underappreciated in the Philippines with the exception of professors with master's and doctorate degrees from the best universities in Europe and the US. Leon says, Singaporean society places a high value on education and teachers are seen as important figures who contribute to the nation's success. Compared to many countries, Singaporean teachers receive relatively good salaries, which can make the profession attractive. And Infantry says teachers in the US tend to be underpaid and overworked at the moment. On the primary and junior high level, we are having brain drain of teachers leaving the profession. So looking at the comments from our viewers, it seems that respecting teachers' rights is becoming a bigger issue here, not only here in Korea, but around the world. But to expand our discussion even further, we're now going to turn to a Gen Zer in Korea who is preparing to become a teacher herself. We'll be right back, so stay tuned. So today we're joined by Kim Yeon-hee, who is a Korean Gen Zer preparing to become a middle school teacher. Welcome, Yeon-hee, to the show. And I heard that you are currently studying right now, but you took the time to join NewsGen today. So a huge thanks to you, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, great to have you. So our first question, me and our panelists, we've been talking about this in our discussion before, but do you also feel that the way teachers are viewed or perceived in Korea has changed when compared to the past?
Yes, I think in comparison to the past, the current perception on teachers in South Korea has undergone notable changes due to various factors. Because of increasing emphasis on education for entrance examinations, there have been more demands on private education nowadays.
Right.
This tendency devalued the public education, which also led to decline in trust and value in public teachers. Second factor is we are living in an era of information. In the past, people could get a limited amount of information. So the role of teacher was focused on teaching itself, which made the position more valuable. However, now it is easy to get access to information, and the teacher is more like facilitator rather than person who teaches or delivers information. So I think this background brought a change on perception on teachers these days.
So I'm curious, why do you want to be a teacher and what kind of teacher do you want to be?
I think there are not many jobs that can directly make influence on someone's life.
Right.
But the teacher is one of them. It's such an interactive profession, offering opportunities for growth to students. Also, this motivates myself to keep developing and making efforts constantly, which is the most attractive point I find from the profession of teacher. My goal is to become a teacher who can embrace all students from various backgrounds and characteristics. At the same time, I want to be a friendly teacher. Students can share their concerns comfortably whenever they want. I want to offer them as many chances as possible to experience a lot of things while they are under the protection of school systems before they face the real society. And during this time, I'd like to help them gain wisdom and realize valuable ideas by themselves.
Okay, Yeon-hee, from your answer, I can see that you will make a great teacher.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So, Yeon-hee, from your perspective, what would be the ways to protect the teachers' rights from now on?
Because of current social background and atmosphere, this is not an easy issue to solve. Basically, appropriate laws and legislation to protect teachers are very necessary. Tightening legal regulations on teachers' right to work and their working environment are required. Also, I think communication and interaction is really important. This includes various types such as communicating among teachers, between teacher and parents, or teacher and student. Enough interaction can lower the possibilities of misapprehension and help to understand each other. We really don't have enough opportunities to put ourselves in others' shoes. So I think platforms for communication can be the way to protect teachers' rights.
All right. Thank you so much, Yeonhee, for your time today. We really support your journey, your endeavors of becoming a teacher. And next time, if you come on Newsday, I hope that we'll meet you as a middle school teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think that Yeonhee made really good points. There is a need for the government to roll out more guidelines and policies to protect teachers' rights as too. In fact, the Education Ministry actually rolled out new guidelines for teacher-student interaction last year. So hope we can see more of these barriers or policies being made so that both teachers' rights and students' rights can be respected. But before we wrap up, on a lighter note, I want to hear from you both. So as yesterday was Teachers' Day, a personal question. Do you have like a very memorable teacher who influenced your life positively? And what do you think defines the qualities of being a good teacher?
So that's a very good question. I'm going to go a little out of the box and not actually name a school teacher, more of a coach. My boxing coach was my favorite teacher. He not only taught me how to defend myself, he gave me confidence in myself and was able to teach me how to become more mature as well. You may not know this, but I was not a big fan of school growing up. I struggled along with most teachers.
Well, I can't imagine that.
Trust me. And I would say that a lot of teachers didn't like me in their classes.
Really?
I think if you told the teachers that I grew up with saying that he became a teacher at one point, they would laugh. So I did enjoy like physical activity, and that's why I clicked so well with my boss. Now, I learned some very good life lessons from my coach, and that's why that's what I think makes a good teacher is where you can learn life lessons, become a better person. That's the main things that I see in a good teacher.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more because I also think that a good teacher or a teacher itself is someone who we can learn from, someone who teaches us valuable life lessons, and someone who just guides us to a better direction of life. Now, Sang-Hyuk, I know that you are currently a teacher. You're teaching students at a university or graduate school. So what about you?
Well, I'll just come inside the box again.
Inside the box again.
Yeah, so there was one teacher when I was attending elementary school in the States. At the time, my English wasn't that fluent, but she was really caring and understanding. There was a time I asked my teacher about the definition of the color magenta, and she took me to the art room and mixed the paint of red and pink to explicitly show the definition of magenta, which was really kind of her. Yeah, so to come to think of it, to her, I was like just a foreigner, and my questions might have bothered her, but she never expressed like disturbance to me. She was always caring, and she helped me with all her support so that I could adapt well to the new culture.
That's such a heartwarming story. It's definitely a great story to end off our discussion today. So yesterday was Teachers' Day. So if you have the time, why not just call or contact the teacher that you thought was the teacher of your life. And meanwhile, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks today to Walter Lee.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely to have you. And Im Sang-Hyuk.
Thank you as always.
Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow. We are News Generation.